Our guest in for Louise Martin today. Thank you. Now let's talk more about that very story, the subject of mortgage fraud. As we heard, Ontario is going ahead with new legislation to protect homeowners, increasing fines from $1 now up to $50,000. But it's too late for my next guest, Susan Lawrence, already a victim of mortgage fraud, and she is my guest here in studio. Susan, thanks for coming in to tell us a story that, as Robert mentioned, there are many in Canada who probably don't even know this exists, let alone have met somebody to whom it's happened. Tell us your story. It's an awful one.
A year ago, I didn't know it existed. About a year ago, without my knowledge or consent, someone literally stole my house, put a mortgage on it for over $300,000. All I did was put a for sale sign on my lawn.
How did they do that?
They forged a sale, and then they went to the bank with fraudulent documents, bank documents, employment records, and they got a mortgage on the property. I found out about it by accident 2 months later.
How did you find out?
I was in the process. I had sold my house to a reputable couple, and they had, I'd gone to buy a new property. When I went to the bank to arrange a mortgage on the new property, I was told I didn't own the property I was presently in and thought I owned at the time.
And you did what?
Had a fit.
Susan, that's probably the understatement of the century here. And then began a whole process of figuring out what had happened?
Yeah, that was the hard part. The hardest part was trying to get someone to help me. Because like I say, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about title insurance, which is one way to protect yourself. I knew nothing about how these people, I couldn't even imagine going through the efforts that they'd gone through to forge these documents and gone to the bank for this mortgage. And I just kept plowing on and trying to found someone that helped me. Finally, I got a terrific lawyer, Morris Cooper, who without him, I don't know where I'd be today.
So essentially this is an identity theft.
Yes.
They had stolen your identity and then proceed with fraudulent documents. So to the bank's knowledge, this was really Susan Lawrence who was seeking a mortgage and getting rid of her home.
Yes.
And then you got stuck with no home.
No home. Well, they tried to evict me. It was Maple Trust was the company they took the mortgage out with. And one night I came home and they tried to evict me from my home. And after that I thought, let's go public with this. People need to know about this. Fortunately, they dropped the charges or they dropped the papers, so I never was evicted. I'm still in the house. I have title back, but I still have a $300,000 mortgage on it.
Really? Mm-hmm. It's just it's a heartbreaker.
It is.
And you've got a nice smile. You're having good humor through all of this. But has that been the reaction? I mean, you can't imagine that this could happen to you or anyone.
Everybody says when I tell them, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. How could this happen? But I've seen the documents. I've seen the forged documents. I've seen paperwork with my signature on it.
Where would they have got your signature?
It's not my signature.
It's not.
Every page is a different signature. I've seen documents with my real estate agent. They forged her signature as well. I went through a lot of trouble to do this.
And as it's ended up, was sort of can we call this a happy ending? I mean, you still are in your house right now. You have the mortgage, of course, which is not a happy ending, but you're in your property.
It will be a happy ending. On November 28th, we went to appeal court. We went to appeal court. And earlier in June, I'd gone to Superior Court to get title of my house back, and I also asked them to dismiss the mortgage. They couldn't do that because it's based on a precedent-setting case that took part last November, so I had to go to appeals court. I went to appeals court. My lawyer threw my case in front of 5 respected judges, and now we're just waiting for their decision. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Cross your fingers for that. Yes. There is a conference going on looking into various facets of fraud and looking as one of those topics at mortgage fraud and calling it an epidemic problem. Is that your sense? I mean,
I think so. The government insists, and they've said it to me more than once, that there's only 10 cases a year. But that's 10 cases that apply to this fund that they have. It's called the Land Titles Assurance Fund. I know personally 5 people that have been affected by this that have not been registered with the fund. It's not part of the 10 people that they're saying. I think it's epidemic. I do.
So having gone through this situation, what's your advice to someone just learning about this, number one, and now thinking, I've got to protect myself?
Check your title. And secondly, get title insurance. It's an insurance that will, if I had have had it, like I say, I knew nothing about it when this whole thing started, I would have been, all the legal costs that I've gone through and all the trouble that I've gone through, the insurance company would have looked after.
As you fought this?
Yes.
How much has it cost you to retain your house?
$30,000.
$30,000 so far.
And I haven't got it back yet.
And your mortgage that you still have?
Well, hopefully they'll dismiss it.
Yeah. So the lesson from Susan Lawrence to everyone watching is?
Protect your identity and get title insurance on your home, whether you have a mortgage or not.
It's valuable information, and you're pretty strong to come forward with that publicly. So thanks very much for talking to us, Susan.
Thank you,
Very
Heather.
important information to convey today.